Wow. Our entire family want to thank you for coming today and help us to celebrate the life of our father, known to some here today as John, Johnny, husband, grandpa, and to my two sisters and myself, Daddy. Each of those references in name have a story to tell. Your personal relationship with my dad has a story to tell. I know a lot of you have traveled far to come here today and to support our family. It's such a healing gift to be surrounded by your love and respect for my father. Thank you so much for coming and showing my family and myself that my dad holds a special place in your hearts. Your friendship allows us to know that my father will be nearby always because of the memories that are stored within each of us. It was once written, the value of a person's life is directly related to the number of people they have positively affected. I can't begin to tell you how many calls my mom has received, how many texts my mom has received, how many cards my mom has received. And the impact of that and the knowledge in that, it not only comforts my mom who has left here, but it also puts an impact in the knowledge that my dad made a mark on this earth. When I set to write my dad's eulogy, I felt so honored but completely terrified at the same time. What would I say? I mean, how do you begin to thank someone whose first gift to you was to give you an existence in life? For days I thought about what I could possibly say to bring honor to Daddy in these moments, and I could tell you that I wanted to use profound words, express what my dad meant to me, but all I could come up with was that I loved being Daddy's daughter. I really, really loved it. I don't even feel guilty for it. I loved it. Most of you knew him as John, by some people that knew him, Johnny, but my father, simply put it, was my example in life. When asked to describe him, I've heard people say larger than life, loyal. Our family probably would say stubborn and bullheaded. Never will you meet a greater man, though. A man who more faithfully lived his values, as Abel shared. My father was a teacher of all things. His method was simple. He taught by example. At any age, when faced with an ethical dilemma, after reflection and study in my life and rationalization many a times, I found myself coming back to the simple question, what would Daddy do? His character is the foundation of my life. He is a conscious effect in my life. He always wanted me to be self-sufficient and an independent person, as he was independent. Summing up my father's life, never will you meet a man who more faithfully lived his values, even until his final breath. The guy decided when he was gonna die, not when we thought he should die. My father's teached us endlessly. My father never let a man down that I knew of, and I'm sure he did, but in my eyes, he didn't. He fulfilled every obligation he ever undertook, and his word was his bond, and everyone knew it. My father was self-made and self-reliant. From his career, his skills with every kind of tool. You see, if a tool wasn't involved, it wasn't worth doing in his eyes. He could fashion wood, he could fashion metal, he could fashion bricks, he could fashion cement. My dad engaged with the world. He was a man, and he was going to master any task that he set out to do. Nothing was done in the gray area with my dad. It was either black or white. There was no middle ground. It was who he was. My father was adamant that his 3 girls learn the values behind respecting others as he wished to be respected, and know the difference between right and wrong. And this is one of my earliest remembered teachings of him. He wanted to make sure our values, our morals, were aligned with his teachings. Speaking of my father's teachings, they really were endless. He taught me so many first. Here's a few. How to thread a lure, how to cast a fishing rod, how to chop wood, how to play horse, how to bowl, how to pitch, how to grunion hunt, how to change a tire, how to drive a manual car, how to burn a car down welding a trailer hitch on it, which is a story for another time. How to stick up for myself and how to be kind, giving, loving, and loyal. Imagine my surprise when I was able to watch this with his grandchildren, and I was able to watch it teach Phil even things in our marriage. Only this time I got to witness it as an adult. I realized one single thing through that journey, that many of my childhood memories involved my dad. At the risk of sounding cliche, Daddy was one of the greatest men that I ever have known, and likely ever will. He was the most down-to-earth person you will ever meet, and he just had this fundamental, abiding respect for people. Spending as much time with him as I have in the last 3.5 years, we were able to talk about a lot of different topics. I truly cherish that I spent that time with him, and I got to know him more in a meaningful way than ever before, on a completely different level. Not just as a father-daughter, but as a friend. And some of my most favorite times together, and I found myself discovering more and more, were some of the things that he would say. Some of life's lessons that he still was teaching in his final days was that man had the highest threshold for pain that I have ever met. My father's one-liners during that journey with cancer deserved their very own book. As a matter of fact, he should have gotten an award for some of the things he would say. His ability to come up with quick-witted responses never ceased to amaze me. My father had a quiet dignity, respecting himself and thus he respected others. As he faced the final days of his body ravaged with cancer, he never lost his good humor, not once. He never complained or asked, "Why me?" He never let the cancer beat him. Another thing that astounded me but does not surprise me is that he never had one single moment of self-pity. There never was a day that he didn't thank me daily for helping him during his journey. My father's courage through his fight with cancer was absolutely, to me, incredible. He should all of us today, in this day and age, should wish that we would have just an inch of that courage and resolve that my father had. I haven't quite come to terms